glad that Kai Ming started by talking about education reform, because just the other day I was reminding him really, was that come this September, our own education reform here in Hong Kong would have marked its 10th anniversary. September 2000, we published a report called Education Blueprint for the 21st Century, and it is very much on this blueprint that we built our current e-learning plans. We started the process about in 2008 to start talking about e-learning, and we anchor very much this whole idea about e-learning on how we enhance learning, not just improving teaching, but really it's about putting the emphasis on the students, the student-centric, how to learn better, teach less and learn more concept. Now, I need not remind you, transformation or reform, any reform process is not a linear one. And I'd like to share with you a couple of stories that happened to me in the past couple of days that just illustrate this point. I'll start with the challenge, and then I'll end up on a more positive note with a promise. The challenge happened, that I was reminded, the reminder happened to me this morning. I was in another part of Hong Kong U, and it's a seminar on Chinese history. It's a prize presentation on Chinese history projects, which is another topic all in itself. But at the end of the prize presentation, a publisher came up to me and said, "Mr. Chen, thank you for sparing our lives. Thank you for making sure that we can still maintain our livelihood in publishing." Well, of course, what he really was saying is that, "Mr. Chen, please be careful, do not ruin our livelihood by pushing your e-learning agenda." And it's a very vivid reminder that in a subject as complex as pushing for e-learning, that there are people who feel their interests are at stake. There are people who have always done what they believe is best, and here we are telling them there may be a better way of doing it. So how do we align these interests? This is a problem posed by Nancy, which is a difficult problem to address. But let me tell you sort of also a promise that yesterday one of our IT solution providers posted 3 videos on my Facebook page, and you're welcome to see them. It's on my Facebook page. It's about the 3 video. It's about how a group of local students, primary school students, have just completed their Chinese New Year holiday homework using an e-learning platform. And it was an interview about how the teacher felt that e-learning has transformed the way students have completed the project. And it's also a video about students sharing their experiences in using this technology to collaborate and to look for information, research, synthesis, and so on. And it's highly encouraging. We are seeing changes slowly happening in the school sector. Now, I talked about 2 days ago about this paper that Nancy assigned me to read, which is talking about education epidemic, which is a paper highly recommended. It talks about how we in government should create a climate for innovation, and it seems I like to sort of describe some of these key players in the market as we see it, and perhaps later on I'd like to hear your feedback. There's a few key players in this ecosystem. Seems in increasing order of difficulty. I start with the easiest one first. The easiest group of stakeholders are the IT guys, because to them this is new business. This is a new business opportunity that they are desperately trying to get into. They can't wait to learn more about education. So this is the easiest, by and large, is the easiest people to deal with. Then a second level of difficulty would be the publishers. Now, you think that the publishers are most difficult, but at the end of the day, they're driven by commercial interest. And back in my mercenary days in business, whatever you can solve by money isn't really a big problem. If the challenge there is to find how it would make sense for them commercially to enter this new arena. So it's not too difficult. Now, perhaps another next level of difficulty would be the school sector. teachers, principals, the school board, and probably the most difficult of all, the parents. How do we convince them that this is a better way to learn, for the children to learn? And what can we government do? It seems to me that we have to move away from a command and control type of mentality. We can't legislate e-learning. We can't, we have tried in the past 10 years of advocating reform. We've seen that whenever we try to put some hard regulations on, the school sector actually revolts. We see that in the medium instruction policy, which those of you from Hong Kong know, we have moved away from a hard guideline to now a more of a participatory, professional dialogue with schools. We really need to encourage schools to generate innovation from bottom up. The paper that just referred to education epidemic talk about enabling intervention, not just directive intervention. We also need to encourage diversity. The school sector in Hong Kong, 7 million people, is not too big, but it's big enough that we need different ways of doing things. And the e-learning, similarly, we need to encourage the diversity to happen. The process in the next few years, I don't think will be easy, but I'm hoping that with the wisdom of the crowd, as Barbara was saying, how we encourage different stakeholders to sort of move in this one general direction. And along the way, I think government can provide the facilitation, can provide the climate to encourage innovation. But I don't think we would commit the same mistake of trying to intervene too much, especially by legislation. So with that, I'd like to hear more of what you feel about this topic, and thank you very much.